everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day you're listening. Welcome to Black Men Let's Talk. Again, I'm your host, Demetrius Stone, and really honored and with our guest today, Jamil Pugh from the Sacramento area. So I'm going to go ahead and hop right in and get right to it. Jamil, how you doing this morning, brother?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be on here. I'm really happy to see this type of digital, communication going on where we're kind of talking with brothers and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, pleasure having you. So Jamil,
Thank
let's
you.
jump. Tell the folks that are listening and watching a little bit about yourself. What do you currently do? Um, just your bio and brief or extensive, however long you want to take, brother.
Yeah, so I got a lot going on right now currently. So one of my career paths, one of my jobs right now, I'm the American River College team photographer. So I cover all of their sports, and that ranges from football to water polo to soccer to volleyball. And sometimes I'm shooting 3 and 4 sports in a day. But my primary work is a digital media strategist for a nonprofit that I started called Strategy Media Incorporated. And there I run public health campaigns. And so I got some work with Sac County Public Health, Her Health First, Black Mothers United, First Five Sacramento, and just running campaigns in the background. And sometimes it's, you'll see those different organizations and, see the new logos and new branding, their website, their social media, their podcast, their books. And on the back end, that's actually me working for them, putting out that content. So, take a look at, what Her Health First got. They got a learning management system, hhflearn.org, Black Mothers United, SJ Now. There's a whole host of brands that I've kind of created and been working with over the past 6 years. But for 14 years, I spent in education, working primarily in youth development, college and career counseling, working with young people, helping them to, make that transition post high school. And I still love that work. In fact, after my last year as a college and career counselor at Intercom, I created a college and career readiness program with about 20 students, and it was so successful. And I was so happy to help young people, matriculate into college or vocational or whatever it is they wanted to do, that I kept running the program. So 3 years removed from that role with Intercom, I still run my college and career readiness program, and I meet with my young people every Wednesday night from 8 to 9, and we just, prepare them. And right now, in October, November is college application season. So I spent 3 hours a couple nights ago on the phone just reviewing the kids' personal insight questions, their college essays, giving them feedback. And so I do that voluntarily because I've been so blessed and so fortunate to have some great mentors in my life that I want to make myself available to young people too. Because when you develop that skill set of understanding how to prepare young people to gain access to college, it's very unique. And not to brag, but I've been really good at it. First kid in the Thomas history to go to Stanford, Harvard, Yale, Georgia Tech, Georgetown. It's just to let you know how competitive it is to get into some of our UC programs. UC Berkeley gets 90,000 applicants a year. UCLA gets 120,000 per year. I had 11 seniors on my team just last year. 9 of them got into both.
Wow.
So it's one of those things, like once you understand what you're doing, and I'm there for all kids, but my Black babies have a special place in my heart, and I want to make sure that they get where they need to go. And so I've been continuing to work with them. And last year, my chief of staff, he got a what I would call a trifecta. He got into UC Berkeley, UCLA, and USC. And so it's a Black kid, and I'm just really proud and happy to see a young man like that have options. So that's kind of what I've been doing professionally. Currently working on my doctorate in human resources workforce development. And I think I'm on one of my last classes, and I think I want to focus primarily on the transition of athletes from their athletic careers into another professional career. I think that's a topic that's not discussed as much. And myself, as a former professional athlete, I knew that transition was kind of rough. Because we don't have time to have internships, volunteer experiences, job experiences. You're on the court, you're on the field, you're in the weight room, and you're trying to figure out, how can I make it to that peak level of competition? And so there's a lot of fascinating research out there about athlete identity foreclosure, dual careers for athletes. And you're seeing a lot more. You see these athletes out here now, creating their own podcasts while they're playing, or they are into real estate or setting up businesses, building brands. And so it's all to aid in that transition, because there's a huge fall off. I remember one of my good friends, Tremaine Folks, who played in the NBA, won a championship, and he said to me, and it stuck with me. He said this to me prior to my own transition. He says, Jamil, there's a million people trying to help you get to the league, but there's no one helping you when you get out. And I
Mm.
was like, dang. So that's kind of what I'm up to these days. Just enjoying life. I got 2 kids, been married 5 years now. I'm happy, man. It's a lot, but I'm happy.
Yeah. Sounds like you have a lot of purpose and a mission and a duty that drives you. So, yeah, you have a lot of important work. And that was just hearing that. My first thought was, I'm thinking, when does this brother sleep?
Uh,
But
Not much. My this morning, my daughter was like grabbing my face, like, "Daddy, wake up, wake up!" And I'm just like, "Ugh, it's 7:15 already." And so, at this, stage and age, I don't need an alarm clock. And
right,
my son is 3 months old, and he doesn't sleep very much. He's always up, and
mm,
my wife's breastfeeding, so she doesn't sleep either. So no, and that's the hard part right now, man. I'm really struggling to create the time to be a very present father. One of the things my wife said to me that really stuck with me, and I'm really in the process of eliminating things in my life so I can be more present. She says, "You can't keep giving us the leftover energy."
wow,
And I was like,
wow,
because I'm coming from photographing this game, or I got this meeting, or I got this project that I'm doing, or I got this homework that I'm doing, and I'm trying to like just be there for bath time, story time, things like that. And so I've been really good about scheduling my time with my family, right? And not
yep,
that you have to necessarily schedule your time, but you're blocking time so that nothing else competes with the energy that I want to give to them first. Everything else gets that secondary energy. So um she holds me accountable. So I definitely got a partner who is just incredible in making sure that you know I did my best. I do my best in my career and all those things, but I also do my best as a father and as a partner.
yeah. The advice, either whether you call it blocking off
Yeah,
time,
blocking off time. Yeah, yeah. This is family time.
yeah,
This
right,
is what we. Yeah, I can't call you back right now, brother. Or my students will call, Mr. Pugh, I need you. Da, 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 I need you. That. I'm sorry. And that's been really tough for me because I've always wanted to be incredibly present for them and meet them where they are and help them, get where they need to be. Because that's what my mentors did for me. Anytime I call, they pick up.
yep,
You know, they pick up the phone for me, and regardless of my crisis was big or small, they were there for me. And I want to do that for my young people, but I would also do that for my own kids. And so now that I have 2,
yep,
uh, I gotta reserve that energy. So there's a lot of things pulling at me, but um, I want to make sure I do all that I can in the time that I have. Because who knows how much time you have, and so
yeah,
that's important to me.
yeah. That's a message. As a father myself, I can definitely relate. Um, and you're right. You never know how much time you have left. Even if you know how much time you have left, whether it's 18, 21, 25, that time gets on you so quickly. Before you know,
So
I'll do this when they're in middle school, or I'll do this when they're in high school. Before you know it, they're 17 and about to graduate. Oh, we
yeah.
never get to see X, Y, and Z.
2 things I'll say to that. You know, one, I stopped counting my own age and I started counting my life in their age. I
Mm,
started thinking like, when my kid's 10, when my kid's 15, when my kids are 20, you know what I mean? What Where will I be in life and how can I contribute to them, or how can I engage, interact with them?
yeah,
Um, and then, I've had some things in my life that have happened that have really helped me live with a sense of urgency, which you can see in terms of all the things that I'm doing at one time. And I made a promise to myself about 20, no, about I would say 18, oh, it's 2022. So yeah, about 20 years ago, I said to myself, I will no longer have dreams. I will only have projects. Anything that comes into my mind that's worth doing, I will start working on it now. Right. So I kind of eliminated this one day, this, that, or whatever the case may be. And I'm living to make today exactly what I want that dream to be. So I'm in the process of every dream or aspiration that I have. And that includes things with my family. A couple years ago, you know, I s- took two years to save up enough money to take my mom on a surprise trip because I wanted to create those memories with her and not wait for the opportunity. So saved up for 2 years, put her on a plane. She had no idea where she was going. When we got to the airport, I told her to bring some some swim gear, and she got there and she's on the phone with her friends and she got in line and the thing said Amsterdam. And she's like, "Oh, we're going to Amsterdam." She's calling on her friends and she started looking it up on her phone. And she goes, "There's no beaches in Amsterdam. Why are you bringing me this swim gear?" And so I just let her believe that she was going to Amsterdam the whole flight. And we get to Amsterdam and I said, "Mom, we got another flight." She goes, "No, Jamil, we just got up. We was just like a 7 hour flight. What you mean?" And I said, "No, no, we got one more flight. It won't be long." So we ended up taking her to Spain and Greece. And it was just one of those moments, man, where you like, wow. Like 20 years ago, I was playing with University of Massachusetts and they took us out to Greece and ESPN was following us around. And there was a place that we went to where the we got off on this island, jumped into the water, and they showed me like diving into the water. And my mom saw it when we were playing against UConn. And ever since then, that moment of seeing her son dive into the ocean in Greece, it was just like she was fascinated with it, right? And so on the last day in Greece, I put her on this little 3-day cruise, right? Or three island cruise. And as we're going and hitting the different islands, it suddenly dawned on her that we were going to the exact same place that she saw me dive off a cliff into the ocean 20
Wow.
years before. And she just literally started bawling. It was,
Wow. So she remembered.
yeah, man, it was big. It was big. So, I mean, I live for those type of moments and making sure that my family can experience life at its highest point. I'm working hard to do that. I think, I'm inspired by what Jay-Z says. He goes, "My parents didn't have shit, so that shift started with me." Right.
Yep.
So
Wow.
ground zero, no
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Man, that's powerful. I believe I said this on a prior interview, but this is relevant for this topic as well. I once heard that the best thing as Black parents we can get our kids or our family members are swim lessons and a passport.
Hey, my daughter's in swim lesson right now. So yes, it's so funny because my wife, she she doesn't believe in floating or that she can float. I'm like, this is salt water. You will not drown. And so we were in this little lake, and I'm like, well, let's just go out to the deep end. I said, just float, just da-da. And she starts panicking. Oh no, I can't touch the bottom. Da, da, da. And I'm just pulling her, and then she catches a cramp, and it turned into a whole thing. And to this day, man, I still make fun of her about that. She can swim,
Right.
but she's not confident in her ability to float. So, but you're right though. I mean, we've already got my 3-year-old daughter a passport. We're working on getting my 3-month-old son a passport because there's so much of this world to see, man. I've been to over
Yep.
25 countries, maybe like 4 different continents. Been to Africa twice. And, the
Wow.
moment you go to these different places, it changes you. It leaves something in you.
Yep.
You see different cultures, you interact. I remember the first time I touched down in Africa, I went to Egypt. I looked around. I'm everybody was Black on the plane. I'm like, whoa, this was like something new for me. It was powerful, man. One of the most incredible things that happened to me in Greece was not Greece, I'm sorry, I meant to Egypt, was I was walking around and, going to the different, uh, mosque and temples and museums, and brother just kept calling me Nubian, my Nubian, my Nubian. And I'm just like, why are these brothers calling me Nubian? And then I started to learn about some of the different cultures that existed in Egypt, and man, because of my darker skin, they see me as a Nubian brother. And so I just thought that was incredible. going to the Mosque of Ali Pasha, going to the Museum of Cairo, going to the pyramids.
Wow.
Man, I mean, going inside of the pyramids, going down into, I mean, it's just, it's different. It's different. And then going to Morocco and just experiencing that, man, is beautiful. But I say each of the countries that I've been to, I think I hold a little piece of that culture within me and that mindset, and now I'm on a mission to, because I feel like God just blessed me so much to see so many different things. I'm working hard to put aside the money to bring my family to those places. It's important
Yeah.
now for my wife to see it, for my kids to see it. God willing, the time with my mom to see it. So that's kind of where I'm at with those things, man.
Wow. You make me want to grab or book some flights.
Oh man, we're just waiting for my son to get all his shots and get a little bit more time for you put him on the plane. But that little man's gonna get stamps real early.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. It's that once you've traveled, it stretches your mind to all sorts of possibilities. And you can never reshape it back to the way it was. You have all these opportunities, these other places. Not only, you know, your city and your neighborhood is small enough when you think of it in the context of the entire country, but when you
Yeah,
think of your world, the entire planet, it's really small. Brother,
yeah.
there's so
I
it,
wouldn't just say also, because I know people will say, well, it must cost a lot of money for you to do all this traveling. It must be, you must be rich, and that's definitely not the case. I mean, it is reasonably priced. One of the things I'll say is that, like, what you'll find is that you'll spend more money going to Vegas or Florida or Atlanta than what you may spend going to France
right,
or going to, the Philippines or going to Indonesia and places like that. I've flown to France multiple times for under $450,
that's right,
right? I've my flights from uh Spain to Greece, round trip was less than $100. My flight from Spain to Morocco round trip was less than $100. My flight from San Francisco to uh, the Philippines, from I stayed in the Philippines for a week, went down to Indonesia for a week, came back to the Philippines, and went back to San Francisco. Collectively, was less than $900, right?
right,
So, and then when you get there, I mean, we were staying in beautiful hotels. When I say on the beach, I mean I could throw a rock from my window to the water or look down from. I mean, right there, $80 a night, and
man,
that's one of the nicest, hotels out there. And and then,
right,
food. We were spending less than $15 a day on 3, 4 meals. You know what I mean? I was like, let me just try it. Just throw it on there. And so,
yeah,
and
no,
then that's what we do intentionally. Yeah, finding the places that are cheap to go, cheap to travel. Um, yeah, you just gotta get out there and explore. And I'm not, and none of those things were special deals. That's just regular
right,
price.
right. Speaking of the passport and swim lessons, yeah, I've always thought some of the things that maybe hold us back from doing things like traveling to cities, countries, I should say, that we've never been to, or taking swim lessons, or being on a college campus. Um, uh, some of that is sometimes rooted in fear,
Hmm.
whatever the unknown is. But what are your thoughts on what sort of prevents us from as a collective group? Speaking of African Americans specifically, of traveling to more foreign places as opposed to Vegas, Houston, New Orleans, of taking swim lessons. What are your thoughts?
Well, when I graduated college, my mentor bought me a book called Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
And the last chapter is The Six Ghosts of Fear. And it talks about the 6 different things that keep people from reaching their potential. And I won't even spill the beans on that. You have to go pick that up and really learn the
Yep.
game on that. And once I lost the book, he called me 2 weeks later and said, "Did you read it yet?" I said, "No, I didn't read it." He sent it to me again. So when I sat down and actually read it, it was transformative. I have a lot of friends now who are starting to read these things, and I'm like, bro, I have been living the information from that book for 15 years now, 17 years now,
Yep.
right? So it's important that we educate ourselves with information like that, because I think once you understand your ghost of fear and what's preventing you from taking that first step, I mean, Martin Luther King says, "You don't have to see the top of the staircase to take the first step."
Yep.
Right? I kind of have lived my life that way. And for those of us who are religious, we always say walk by sight, not by, or walk by faith and not by sight. And so sometimes, we allow all of the different, you know, potential or false expectations appearing real to get in the way of the true outcomes that as possible. You got to elevate the positive possibilities over the negative outcomes. And then one of the things that me and my wife talk about, especially with our kids, we want to make it okay to fail
Yep.
for our children. I don't care if you're not great at this. What I care about is your effort, your intentionality, and you just trying. And I think, that goes for food too. When I'm going to these different countries, I can't just, order up a Big Mac, you know what I
Right.
mean? Sometimes it's gotta be a Royale with cheese. You know
Right.
what I mean? I remember when we were in the airport, and we were in Greece, and my mom was like, "I want some mustard." And to what with my sounds, and the guy was like, "What is she talking about?" Or it was either mustard or mayonnaise, and they didn't
Right.
have it, right? And my mom was like going back and forth with her. And I was like, "Mom, they don't have that out here." She was like, "Oh, okay, okay." She was cool because she's traveled before, but it's sometimes we gotta let go of what we're comfortable with in order
Yep.
to experience something new. And considering that, my background, I mean, I went to 6 different elementary schools and 3 high schools, all in different cities, right? I went to college in Massachusetts and Sacramento and Los Angeles and now in Arkansas. So I've had to like adjust and get to know different things. And it's kind of helped me in the sense that I can make friends anywhere. I can adjust to any city, any town. I mean, I've lived in
Right.
Australia, New Zealand, Philly. I've lived in Jersey. I've lived in North Dakota. I've lived in the Bay. I've lived in LA. I've lived in SAC. I mean, so all those different places, man, have kind of influenced me to be the person that I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real. Once you visit so many different places and so many different cultures and experience so many different types of things from the weather, whatever the culture is in that region, um,
Right.
the areas where you're one of many African Americans and areas where you're one of very few. It's life changing. It's life
It
changing.
is. It is, man. So I just appreciate it. It took me a while to get to that point because I wanted stability and I wanted to be able to just kind of, you know, know that this is where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of crazy. We just bought a house 2 years ago, and it's the first time I've ever lived somewhere that wasn't temporary. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So yeah, it's cool.
That's amazing, man. Tell me, really, well, first, real quick, I would love to have the experience that you had with your mom. My wife and I have not had a chance to travel as extensively as you have, but we've been very fortunate in being able to travel quite often. And there are so many places I've been to, amazing, beautiful places, Hawaii, Middle East, you name it. And I've
Hmm.
always wanted to take my mom, but she will not get on an airplane. She would just absolutely not get on an airplane. So that's one of my goals, and
Mm.
then the little time she had to somehow get her on an airplane and go see some of these places that she's never seen before.
Yeah, eh, that's you know you as a parent, the pride you see in your kid experiencing something or having fun or the joy on their face, right? I remember taking my daughter to Hawaii, and when she got to see the dolphins, it was just like,
Yeah.
you know, um, but I can still remember seeing my mom's face as she's sitting on the back of that boat as we're going to these different islands, and that'll never leave me,
Yeah.
right? That'll never leave me because it was a time where I got to celebrate her for all that she invested in me,
Yep.
right? All the things that she had to do to get me to where I needed to be. And my mom, man, as a former collegiate and professional athlete, she showed up. She
Hmm.
showed up. My mom was working for a group home where she had to be there. That was her job, right? But if I had a game, they had a field trip. You know? So, I not only needed the 2 tickets that I normally get, I needed 8 other tickets to get all these kids in the game, you know what I mean? And so when I was at UMass, She showed up and helped me make sure that my dorm room was outfitted with everything that I needed. When I got, a contract to go play ball in New Zealand, she was going to be on her way to New Zealand until I got cut and had to, take a contract in Australia. She showed up to Australia. You know what I mean? When I was in high school playing for Nike, she showed up to Orlando. I mean, she's been uh always present for me in a lot of different ways. And so I just wanted, to have an opportunity. And that wasn't the only trip that I took her to Seattle. I mean, not Seattle, but Vancouver before, and we've done other trips. And so um I just think that that's just something important that I enjoy being able to do
Yeah.
now.
With all
So
the traveling, Bill, I'm curious, what's your favorite city? Favorite city that you've lived and visited?
favorite city that I've lived and favorite city that I've visited. One of the things I will say though is in all the places that I've lived, I've looked for Sacramento to be present.
Mm,
And that's just whether it's just something about Sacramento. So I love Sac. But if I had to say my favorite city that I've lived, um probably Melbourne, Australia.
okay.
Um and Melbourne, Australia is like a cleaner, safer San Francisco.
Yeah.
Straight up. I mean, it's got the same vibe to it. You
Right.
got the same like downtown city like feel to it. You got the sports arenas down there. You got the public transportation railway system to get anywhere in the city. The food scene, the diversity is there. I remember going down there and making friends with the Somalian community, and they deep
Mm,
out there, man. And
really?
going to the Somali clubs. Yeah, man, I got a lot of friends out there. They're
Right.
Somali, and we would just hang out. We would go to concerts. I mean, I have friends who took me to go see Exhibit and different music stuff. We went to the sporting games. I went to the aquarium by the river. It was dope, man. It was beautiful. I took my mom to all these different places. The food scene was incredible. They speak English down there, so it's really cool to kind of like hang out.
Yeah.
Um, and the people are so nice, man. I mean, they just took me all over the place. I just made friends just like that. And people that I still talk to this day, and it's been, 17 years. And if I was to say my favorite place that I've traveled, it's a tie because culturally, Cairo was just next level for me. You
Yeah.
know, going into for the first time a Muslim mosque,
Mm,
um, going into a Christian Coptic church, going into the pyramids, going into the museum, being around the city. Uh, it was just next level, man. It just the culture just really struck me. I found it just incredible. And then on the other side of that, I'm a type of guy that loves to, be by the beach, get in the water,
right.
and um, I'm gonna say Athens, Greece. There's just so much out there, and it's dope. But I will say, I will add this little caveat to it. One of my favorite things that I've ever done on a traveling trip was swimming with whale sharks
Mm,
in Philippines. And that, bro, that's like swimming with whales that are big as buses.
yeah.
And you're in the ocean, so you're not in the fish tank, and you have to realize you're in their habitat. And
Yeah.
I'm just like looking at the ones that are in front of me. And my wife got in with me. She was out in 10 seconds. She's like, these things are way too big for me.
Yeah.
And she's trying to get my attention because one's swimming underneath me, one's
Yep.
swimming behind me, and they're all, I mean, it's 360, and you're surrounded by 15, large whale sharks that are big as buses. So those are some of the really cool things that I've been able to do while traveling. But the photography that I do also has opened up some incredible opportunities to kind of travel and see and do things. I cover NFL, NBA, um, and a couple of other sports and being able to go to like a USC Stanford football game. Today I'm going to um, Cal versus Oregon.
Yeah.
Um, Being able to go to, you know, actually I just recently I went to a Toronto Blue Jays game in Toronto where I was able to photograph that game. Or, I've been on the road to University of Oregon, or I've been to Niners, Raider games, NBA games. I shot the Kings and Memphis Grizzlies a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago. And so, having a camera has been great. And, now, I just love what I do now because, my career and the money that I make now is 100% based off of the things I learned off YouTube.
Mm.
So aside from my 2 and 3 degrees and credentials, I'm living off of the study and application of YouTube. So
Yeah.
it's in a beautiful place right now. It came with a lot of struggle. There's a lot of up and downs with that, a lot of lessons I had to learn, and you know friendships and students who've had to help build me back up as I went through some of those rocky transitions. But I'm just blessed and happy to be in a place where I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, Jamel, man, you've definitely opened up my eyes to some places that I've got to put on my travel list. So
Yeah.
I know we could chat all day, but I know you got to get to Berkeley for that game against Oregon and Cal. Who do you think's gonna come out on top?
You know, I got a dog in the fight. One of my former students plays for Oregon,
Okay.
so I'm hoping that the Ducks get this one. But I'm also hoping for a competitive game.
Yeah.
I just love college football. I never got a chance to play. I was always a basketball player, but now my favorite sport is football. So I
Yeah.
do want to see them put up some points so I can get some good shots, and so I'm looking forward to that. But and maybe like 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes. If you got another question or so, you want to jump in there with.
Yeah. No, that was. I've only been to that stadium once, and that was it's a fun place to watch a game, and it's hard for me to watch the game, any game at Berkeley without thinking about the play that occurred with Stanford, like whatever that was back in 1982. So,
Oh
yeah,
man, 1982, I was the year I was born, man.
yeah, yeah. Hey, real quick. So my last question, since you have a couple more minutes, what is it? It sounds like one of the many important things that you do is helping young brothers and sisters get out. What would you say if there were one or two things to you that were the most important in developing who you are, um, that came from being on a college campus or being a college student? What are two experiences that you took from that, that would say help shape you are, and maybe they can't be replicated anywhere else?
Um,
Or if there's even one.
you know, things like so I went to University of Massachusetts for 2 years, played there. My coach was fired. Then I transferred to Sacramento State. And one of the lessons, and I think this would be applicable for anyone who aspires to be a collegiate athlete, like I was there having fun, playing ball, just thinking like, oh, this is just college and ball. And I had showed up late to something, really late. I overslept. I mean, I was still on California time, and I was living on the East Coast.
Right.
And my second coach, my first coach was a black coach, and it was important to my family when I was leaving out of high school to play for a black coach. But my second coach, after my original coach was fired, he said to me, he says, Jamil, I'm not going to let what you do off the court affect how I feed my wife and kids.
Mm.
And that really stuck with me because to him, this wasn't just playing ball. This wasn't a game. This was business. This was money on the line. And, he was getting paid, several $100,000 a year to win.
Right.
And so that really stuck out to me as an athlete. And it was one of those things that kind of flipped the switch in my mind. As I told you before, I don't have dreams, I have projects, right? Anything that's worth my time and attention, I'm working on it right now. May not come into fruition right now, but I'm working on it right now. Um, So that was something that really, flipped the switch for me. Another thing I think being on the East Coast and going to University of Massachusetts that I thought was just incredible and really opened me up was the beautiful African diaspora that existed at that school.
Mm.
We're talking, over 20 different, you know, African clubs, the Pan African experience of being able to be exposed to, you know, um, the different folks that were there really shaped me. They would have these cultural nights where they would bring in speakers, their food, their music, presentations, and you're getting all dressed up, and people are so happy to celebrate being Black, being African, being connected to the source. Um, that has always shaped me, and I think that kind of planted the early seed of wanting to explore more of the world because I got to see it through the individuals who express their culture. And
Yeah.
I've always experienced that element of it, the relationships with people who have put me on with new things and taken me different places. It's a beautiful place of meeting individuals who are like-minded, not like-minded, different, diverse, where you can really kind of uh, explore things in a safe place.
Yeah.
And I'll say at Sac State, um, you know, that was a place that nurtured me back to health. So, both from a physical standpoint, from the injuries, but also from an emotional standpoint of wanting to get my basketball career back on track. And I just learned how to. Um, it was the first in my life I was an underdog in a way that I had to fight through some things. And so Sac State, jumped in the foxhole with me and supported me and pushed me back into a place where, all of the dreams and aspirations that I wanted to have, it happened. So I learned to not look at the superficial things there. You coming from a 10,000 seat arena
Yeah.
to, a couple thousand seat gym, 13 nationally televised games on television to no televised games on television, huge Nike contract to Adidas contract. I mean, there's a difference, but at the end of the day, we were playing basketball and the ball was the same.
Yeah.
And we learned to compete. We learned to, um, the camaraderie with my teammates. Um, and I felt like I contributed to my home community, and they just supported me. So, I think there's a lot of amazing things that I got from both experiences. So, but I
Man.
think that's yeah, it's deep. It's kind of crazy to have gone to such variety of but it was great, man. And I think about that the same way when in high school I went to school in the Bay Area. I went to McClatchy for a semester, and then I went to Grant. And
Nice.
words can't even put into I can't even put words to what Grant is to me,
Mm.
right? Um, Grant is Grant just man, to give you some context, man, I was staying with my mentor in the Bay Area because I didn't want to move to Sacramento because rent prices went from $700 to $1,100 in the city that we were living in. So my mom moved to here. I stayed with my mentor, and I was on my own type time and all that type of stuff down there. So the coach brought me in and says, "Hey, look, we're kicking you off the team. The players have voted on it. We're letting you go. Bring us all of your gear back." So after school to practice, I went in there after school, gave him my gear, and was like, "Can I talk to you?" He's like, "Yeah, wait for me right here outside the locker room." I waited for 45 minutes. That man went in the front door, went out the back door. I never
Wow.
seen him. I got home that same day. My mentor says to me, "You haven't been following my rules in terms of prioritizing your education over your sport. You're gonna go live with your mom, pack your stuff." So I got kicked out the off the team and out the house in the same day.
Mm.
But amazing how God works. When I got to Sacramento, I was still upset. I was still pissed. I was acting a fool.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of McClatchy in 6 months. I was on an interdistrict transfer. But when I got to Grant, man, those folks, that community, I'm talking from the barbershop to the food places to the parent groups to the just any and everybody, man, had my back. And that very next year, we took I was a part of the players who went to a state championship, and that very same coach who kicked me off the team was in the stands watching me play.
Wow.
My mentor and I
Wow.
um, have always rocked, right? But he had to teach me a lesson of accountability and responsibility. Like, you will not stay here and not hold your end, right? And that grew me up as a man. And to this day, I mean, I was the best man in his wedding. He's that man has changed my whole life.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
think I've had some pretty big lessons in life, and that's why I think it's so important for me to make myself available to the young people who are in my life right now and pushing them, supporting them. And it's beautiful to me. I get the most excited, when my kids call me and say, "Mr. Pugh, I got accepted in UC Berkeley," or "Mr. Pugh, I just got a internship at Google. I'm working at Facebook now," or "I'm doing these different things," because I'm still a part of their process, not only getting them into college, right? I had, a couple kids who, got into college but wanted to change their major, and it's a major process. And I helped them with their letters to do that, or I help them with their job interviews. I prepare them for, like as a reference, and help them negotiate their salaries and their benefits. And so these young people are a part of my life, and a part of my young people, my children's life. And so just staying connected, because all of those mentors who helped me, even the military recruiter who kept me in line when I was acting a fool in high school, is
Mhm.
still part of my life. My eighth grade teachers, the principals at Grant, some of the teachers, you know what I mean? Just those folks who made sure I could not fail.
Yeah.
They weren't
Man,
gonna let it happen.
I hear that so much, Jamil, from those that have attended and graduated from Grant. That community, parents, teachers, administrators, those who are longtime residents of the community but aren't directly involved with the school still, everyone pours into the young brothers and sisters in that community.
It was haphazard how I got to Grant, because I lived in Oak Park, and the coaches came to my house one night and tried to talk my mom into it. She was like, "No, I am not driving him from Fruit Ridge to Marconi. Like, it's
Right.
ain't gonna happen." And so they was like, "Well, we'll pick him up in the morning. We'll take him home. We'll make sure he's fed. We'll do all these different things." And one of the things that I credit my mom with, in terms of some of the best decisions that she ever did, was sometimes just getting out of the way,
Wow.
letting people discipline me,
Yep.
letting people pour into me, letting people mentor me. My mom, you know, she didn't block that.
Yeah.
Even though my mentors would do crazy stuff like, "You're gonna get up at 5 a.m. and because you didn't do your math homework last night, I'm gonna sit here and watch you do it right here at 5 a.m. in the morning. You're gonna wake up and I'm gonna watch you do it."
Wow.
Or, "You're gonna do 500 dictionary words because you were acting a fool in school with sentences in Spanish." You know what I mean? And so these punishments with the purpose shape me now, right? I mean, I think about all the words that are in my lexicon at this point in my life is because, damn it, I had to do over 20,000 words because of all the trouble I got into. You know what I mean? And so I think about those type of things, man. And my mom was like, "Hey,
Yep.
say what you have to do." And now with my young people, I'll show up at their school, sit in the back of the class, act the
Mhm.
fool. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And their parents allow me to feed into them like that. My mentee, who ended up being my best man at my wedding, he wasn't doing his work. So, there was times I was like, "Hey, he coming to my house tonight, up at 5 a.m. at the table. Do your homework. I'm watching you."
Yep. Yeah.
So
Right.
those type of things change everything, man.
Yeah. Yeah. As a parent, that's not easy to let go and to let others, take the lead in shaping and molding and disciplining your child. So yeah, that's kudos.
Yeah, I think about it. My mom was so overwhelmed. I mean, man, I in the
Yeah.
eighth grade I had a 1.3 GPA, and I was suspended multiple times.
Mm.
She did everything she could, and she laid hands on me when she needed to. But I think she understood that the people that she allowed to feed into me, have my best interest in heart. And there's something about having a man mold a man.
Yep.
Um, I give kudos. to all the women out there who are having to do it on their own, and I understand that struggle because I've seen it, I witnessed it with my mom.
Yeah.
But to the extent that, and my mentors never had to spank me or whoop me or anything like that. They just knew how to like get at me where I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, straighten my back up. You know what I mean? Pull my pants up when they walk in the room. And the level of that accountability that my mentor was a HBCU grad from Morehouse, military man who took no crap.
Yep. Yep.
Eh, He he walked in this room. To this day, I'm just like, you know, he get on the phone, he'd be like, "Let me learn you something." I'm like, "All right." I tell everybody else, "Get out the way. I gotta got." He's about to deposit a lesson into me, and I gotta get with it. So,
I need to.
um, huh? Yeah,
No.
it's incredible. I'm just so thankful for him, man. Like this guy, man, you know, he changed the whole trajectory of my entire life, man. I was headed down a path that just was dark and not, you know, and he uh he got me to see something different in the mirror.
Hmm.
And when you can do that with a young person, you know, I've had other mentors, you know, Crandall Rankins, who I'm still very close with. He's my godfather, and from a spiritual standpoint, and he always speaks life into me, right? He always speaks the possibilities into me, and I'm starting to see how I'm now in that position to speak life and possibilities into my young people. I remember the young kid I told you about earlier who got into the three universities. He told me his freshman year, where we were walking around Cal on a school visit, that he wanted to go to Cal. I made it my mission to get him into Cal.
Yeah.
He gets into Cal after his senior year, 3 years later, and decides to go to UCLA. I'm like,
You
he's
didn't
like,
know.
yeah, at the time I wanted to go to Cal, but I personalize that like this young brother wants to be at a campus like this. He's doing his part. Let me do mine. So I, you know, molded him for 3 years, giving him different opportunities to enhance his resume and his college applications, reviewing every word and punctuation on every application and scholarship stuff, right? Making sure that everything that he submitted has been through my review. And he got into all three. So and then that's what I want for my kids. You know, my mentor says everything you do in life should provide you more options, not take them away. So
Yeah. And I think that's what that young brother saw. I mean, Cal was always a dream, and that was
yeah,
that was the mountaintop right there. But then once he gets in and starts seeing that someone believes in him and pouring into him, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, I got other options.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Real.
And I argued him down because I'm a USC grad, I got my master's there, and I want to. Oh, well, time for me to go. But let me bring my little baby in here.
Yeah, bring her on.
Oh, she sees the
Hey,
microphone. Play,
you need some microphone time.
I know. So this is my baby Emery, and
Hi, Emery.
yeah.
Emery,
So
how old are you? Know how old she is?
Emery Pugh, Emery Pugh, that's your name. She just got her donut. Where's your donut?
You got the
Is it
good
right
stuff.
here?
You got the good stuff.
Yeah. So this is my little baby. But yeah, man, I gotta jump on the road. I gotta get down to UC Berkeley, go get this game in, get home, and spend more time with her and my son. And
Yeah.
so I'm enjoying it.
Brothers, good get to know you, know your story, and man, safe out there and back.
Thank you. I appreciate having me on the show. I love what Mama Ro is doing in terms of putting us brothers together, celebrating us um, as a whole, because I think it's just so important to change that narrative and to, you know, really show the real stories of brothers who are out there doing, you know, real things for our communities. That narrative that we don't support each other, we don't help each other, we don't put each other on, we're not tight as a community, that we can't work together is false. And
Yeah.
hopefully the things that I share today and the things that you'll hear from the other brothers who are be on this show is the same. Like, no, we are doing these things, and it's just happening. We just need to continue to shape our own narrative in terms of how it's happening. So present fathers, raising our babies, having fun, loving doing it, making sure our kids are taken care of, and kids that are not ours that are taken care of. You know, I think that's important too. So, but let
Yeah.
me. She's
Hey, man, whatever
having a good
here,
time.
that's how we doing what we do. So yeah, really appreciate it. Good to get to know fellow brothers in the community doing the work. Man,
All right, bro. I'll let you go.
all right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.